Hi, welcome back. We're back to talk about more E3 stuff, and we talked about a whole bunch of stuff in part one, including things like Yoshi's Woolly World and Smash Brothers and Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. So if you want to hear that stuff, go back to part one. In this part, we're going to kick things off by talking about, I think we'll jump into what is, in my opinion, the greatest thing ever created, the name of Splatoon. New IP announced from Nintendo during the digital event. Am I the only one, and I can only ask you because it's just the two of us here, but am I the only one between the two of us who, when they saw the initial, like, squid going around in that animation and then saw, like, the first bit, thought that this game was going to be really dumb, and then as soon as the gameplay happened, was like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever? Did you have that impression too?
Yeah, it was kind of like that in part because I was doing 99 different things while the direct was the presentation was happening. Right. So I wasn't totally looking at what was going on, but my initial glance was like, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, you were like, oh, what is this? It looked like a Nickelodeon game, right? Like,
when they were showing that initial teaser, I was like, I think a lot of people were wondering, like, oh, is this Nickelodeon?
Yeah, it totally looked like it. But then the gameplay hits, and then you realize it's so cool because it's like Nintendo's, people have been saying, oh, Nintendo should do a take on shooters, right?
And people also keep saying that Nintendo needs new IP, so there you go.
Exactly, right? It's almost amazing that they added a new IP to this instead of using like old characters for it, but doing it this way, getting new characters in it, sort of lets them get the full credit for making a new IP, because they've done stuff like that before, like what was the game? Kid Icarus Uprising. Yep. Which is basically a new IP, but since they put Kid Icarus on it, no one really gave him credit for it. This is a way for them to get all the credit for that, because the design of this game is so cool. It's a 4-on-4 online multiplayer, effectively a shooter. It's an action game, and you go around and you're trying to spray all the walls and the floor with one of two colors, depending on which team you're on, and whoever sprays the most stuff by the end of the 3-minute or 4-minute or however many minute long round wins, right? So it's a territory thing. You're trying to cover territory, but the two colored inks, your characters can spray all this ink and then switch into being like a squid. And when you turn into a squid, you can use any ink that's down on the ground to traverse the arenas more quickly, right? But you can only go through your own colored ink fast, right? If you go through other people's ink, you go slowly. So there's this dynamic of trying to cover as much ink so that you can win, but also using ink in certain ways to let you navigate better. And on top of that, you can spray ink on like walls, and you can go up walls if you turn into a squid, or through grates, and you can go through grates. So the ink is not just to cover stuff, right? There's so many facets to using it and using it to strategize and stuff like that, which just sounds so cool to me. Just introducing that one mechanic of turning into a squid, to me, adds so much depth to what would otherwise just be walking around spraying things. So, and then you got the gamepad where you can kind of see the layout of the map and see maybe where you should go help defend, but you don't necessarily want to just go for the other enemies because there's just so much strategy to it, Brian. It's so cool. Yeah. I was watching it and I was like, this is the greatest design thing I've ever seen in my life. And that's hyperbole, obviously, but the layers that they've put into this game in terms of what you can choose to do at any given time, it's so multidimensional that it definitely, in terms of the new stuff we saw, is my favorite thing of all the new stuff. And I think I'm more excited, judging by how I'm talking right now, I'm more excited for it than a lot of people are. But what are you as excited for it as me, or are you less or more, or what? How do you feel about this Splatoon thing?
You sound pretty excited, so I don't
know
excited. If I can match that. But
yeah.
I think it looks very interesting, and it's great that Nintendo is coming out with something completely different and new. They are kind of, trying to get into the shooter genre in one way.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that we've only seen a little part of it. We've been hearing that there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a few more modes, rumblings of single player. So
yep. It should be pretty substantial, I think. And it just, I don't know how they're going to do single player or what other modes they have, but when you listen to the dev team behind it talk, it's a group of like young guys. Like, this isn't so much of what Nintendo makes, and this is fine, it doesn't bother me at all, but it's like Miyamoto overseeing a team of young people, or Tezuka overseeing a team of young people, or people that they've been working with for a long time, like Intelligent Systems. This is like a new team. Has this team worked on anything else before, like as the team that they are?
I don't know if
you see the
together.
4 of them, and I've never seen these people before.
I think they have worked on stuff. I don't remember who it was, but I was listening to some stream or podcast. I don't remember what, but I heard someone saying that these people, know what they're doing, and they've worked on quite a few Nintendo things before.
But have they? I guess I've never heard of them leading a project, right?
Yeah.
This sounds like, I think, the first project they've led. Maybe some small thing that I am not aware of. But you listen to them talk, and they seem like they're so deeply involved with the design of the game, and they're so passionate about how it's getting put together. It's just fun to watch them talk about it and see them play it and stuff. Watching them on the Treehouse live stream was just a ton of fun. Yeah. I thought it was really, really cool. So
initially, I wasn't sure about it, but
after seeing gameplay and hearing all the things that they've added to it in terms of the ink, what the ink can do, and then what you're able to do, and the strategies you can use and stuff like that, to me it's a shoo-in to be at least good. Whether it's going to be the next, whether it's going to be the Smash Brothers of shooters, I have no idea. There's no way to tell at this point, but Nintendo took racing and did Mario Kart. They took fighting and did Smash Brothers, and this is, in theory, this is them taking competitive shooters and doing something like that with it, Nintendo-fying a genre that they've never really touched before. So with any luck, it'll be as good as my excitement makes it seem, but who knows, really, right? It still could turn out to be relatively good, not great, which is certainly a possibility.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get another look at it soon.
Hopefully. Well, it's 2015. I think this is one that I'm like, yeah, they say it's 2015 and it's totally going to be 2015. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see next time they throw a Nintendo Direct at us how different it looks, or how interesting it looks. Hands-on impressions from E3 seem to be really positive.
Yeah, I was going to say
about it. So that's good news. But obviously, there's no way to know for sure, since this specific team doesn't have a pedigree we can look back on and know kind of what they're doing. It's not like X or Xenoblade Chronicles X or whatever it's called, where we know what they've worked on, and we can sort of count on that as being, oh, they made that, therefore this will be great. This is a new thing, and it's really exciting to me. I think it looks really super cool, and unique. So I'm absolutely down with the Splatoon, as you can tell. So Splatoon's 2015. Oh, I made reference to the fact that there are games that they've told us are 2015 that I don't think are 2015. Let's talk about one of those now. It's called Star Fox. So they quote-unquote announced Star Fox. They didn't really announce anything. They said it's in the works, right? But what they showed was not a game yet. It wasn't anything yet. It was just kind of like a tech demo, and they even said, oh, well, we're looking for someone to develop it. They hadn't even picked a person to develop it, which makes sense early on in the project, but do you think it's weird that they're showing something this early? Nintendo usually doesn't show stuff when it's not pretty much when they don't have a strong gameplay demo to put forth. And this was not even really, it had a gameplay demo, but it wasn't on the show floor. Only a select few media got to see it, and they said they haven't picked a team really to develop it yet. So do you think that that's weird of them to do, or do you think it's a bad decision? Or
I do think it's weird, and I also find it weird how they said that they basically want to have it out in a year's time. I don't see
how are they going to do that.
From what I was reading, I think someone mentioned that it looked like an N64 game, or they were using N64 assets right now.
People said it looked like programmer art, and it didn't even have art yet. And Miyamoto's just no, it'll be done in a year. And I don't see that happening.
Me neither.
And I don't want to be come on. I don't want to be negative about Nintendo when maybe they totally could, but I don't think we've ever seen a game this early that came out within a year. You know what I mean? Unless they have all of the core programming done, and the only thing they haven't done in terms of the design of the physics and the animations and stuff is just the art. In that case, maybe they have everything ready to go and they just need someone to put it all together. Okay, maybe. But man, it doesn't seem like this is coming out in a year. And but we know how it's going to play, at least, or something how it's going to play, where you've got the gamepad. You've got up on the screen kind of traditional Star Fox looking thing where you got the R-Wing flying around. Then the gamepad's like a cockpit view. and you shoot by, and maybe you can clarify this for me, do you shoot by sort of tilting the controller as though it was a Wii remote and then there's a reticle on screen, or do you have to move the controller around like a Game & Wario kind of thing in order, or like Metroid Blast in Nintendo Land? Is it more like Sin and Punishment 2, or is it more like a Game & Wario or a Nintendo Land kind of thing?
I'm not entirely sure about that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone knows. It's because they did Sin and Punishment 2 with Treasure, and that game was really good. So this might be like that, where you're just moving with a stick and then sort of aiming a reticle on the screen with the controller, or you're going to be flying and then looking down at the gamepad and like lifting it up near your head to like turn around in 360 degrees or whatever, or 180 degrees. In which case, this is not quite like Star Fox as we've known it, in the past. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I'm sure it'll be good, but when people said they wanted Star Fox, I think they meant like an on-rail shooter. And when you make it so you kind of have to lift the gamepad up and be like moving it around in sort of an augmented reality sort of way, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to end up playing in a Star Fox game. I think that'll be interesting to see. Do you have any thoughts on that gameplay mechanism?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I'm kind of like you in the wait and see mode.
Yep. Well, and I think everyone is, because we haven't seen anything about it. I mean, the one video they showed the public was blurry.
Yep, that's true.
So it's but the description, if it's like Sin and Punishment 2, I think is really promising, because that worked great. If it's like Nintendo Land, it's going to be good in a different way than I think people were anticipating a Star Fox game to be good, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's funny. You were kind of talking about how you wanted to see Star Fox, and it happened, right?
Oh, yeah, and I never would have thought. It's when I saw, because Time leaked it before, the thing started, ironically, because, I guess they didn't understand time zones or something and how that worked, but they leaked it, and when I saw that on the site, I was like, no way. So then you watch the digital event expecting them to show it, and then they just don't. So then you're kind of like, what's going on? And then it turns out that it's not really ready to be shown yet. It's just kind of a thing to let us know that they're working with the gamepad in ways that they haven't been before. So
yeah,
I'm happy that Star Fox is getting love. But when it comes out, depending on the control scheme, it might not really even be Star Fox at that point. It might be like a different game. Because, I think when people said they wanted Star Fox, I think they meant they wanted a 3D on-rail shooter from Nintendo, because they're really good at making those. Or they were. It's been, 9 years since Star Fox Command, and, another 3 since the last console Star Fox. So, we'll have to see how this plays out. There's no real way to know, but either it's going to be really cool, or it's going to be something that we're going to have to adjust to if we're expecting a traditional Star Fox. So I trust him, though. Miyamoto knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Miyamoto also talked about, he's working on 2 other things. Small things. He's got 2 small, I don't know if you'd call them new IPs. I think Nintendo called them new IPs, but they're more like little tech demo sorts of things. One of them is the Project Guard, where you're looking at security cameras and you're trying to defend a base. It's a bit tower defense-y. And then one of them is Project Giant Robot, where you play as a giant robot and you use the gamepad as sort of an augmented reality view and the control sticks to control your hand, and you're sort of sumo wrestling these other giant robots. Do you have any brief thoughts on these two Miyamoto projects?
They honestly looked a little bit rough to me, especially what was the other one? The Project Giant Robot.
Oh, the art is no, that's not even art yet. It looks very, very rough. It looks very early, but the gameplay's there. The gameplay itself, the concept, I think, is there in both of the demos. So
yeah, I kind of agree. Although I don't know if I should be nitpicking, but the controls in I keep forgetting. What was the one?
Giant
with
Robot?
Yes,
Project Giant Robot. Yeah.
Yeah, the controls there didn't seem to be the best.
Now, I watched it, and I think that I know where you're coming from, but when I imagine myself playing it, it does seem like there's a huge lag between when you tilt the gamepad and when your robot moves, right? And the animations of the robot look really terrible. Like, the robot's contorted in these ways that doesn't look good, and it looks so rough and early. But imagining playing that, I think it looks like a ton of fun in terms of trying to tilt your body while, moving your two arms in order to somehow move your center of gravity in a way that you can knock down the other robot. And then there's these strategies that sort of emerge in terms of, if you tilt forward and sort of lean forward, you lower your center of gravity so you won't get knocked over. And I thought it looked like, both of these, I thought they looked like a ton of fun, even though the animations accompanying them made them look really crappy in a certain regard. The actual core gameplay, I was really, really down with. But it sounds like you're a little bit more hesitant on both of them.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, do you think both of these could end up being their own games? Or, do you think...
Oh, no, absolutely not. Maybe, but if I had to predict now, these are going in like a Nintendo Land 2, or maybe they're, some people were saying it's like a sub-mode in Star Fox.
Yeah, they did have the logos.
Because of the logos, right? Neither of these at the stage they're in makes me think that they're going to be their own games, but you could maybe sort of imagine up an architecture if they had some sort of other gameplay style going along with it, like maybe it's an action platformer that's cut up with these sorts of robot bits, or you know what I mean? Like if it's a different kind of game that's broken up by these robot bits or broken up by these security camera sorts of bits, like the original Star Fox 64 rather, had like the tank levels and then the submarine level. Like maybe you've got some sort of gameplay architecture that then has these, every once in a while, these giant robot battles, and then a separate mode where you can just play giant robot battle if you feel like it. So the thing that I haven't heard talked about much is giant robot battle seems like it would be an awfully great way to use two gamepads on one system so you could play split screen, and we still didn't hear about that at all this year.
Yeah,
having two gamepads on one Wii U.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like Nintendo's really going for that anymore.
It doesn't at all. And it's interesting because Splatoon, the gameplay of it, you need the gamepad in order to click where you want to go and travel around on the minimap or whatever, and then also to see the layout of like where your troops are and stuff. So is that going to not have local, or like what? How are they going to work that if they're not going to have two gamepads? So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that particular question, I guess. Any other thoughts on just what Miyamoto's been up to? Star Fox, Project Robot, Project Guard, etc.?
No, I mean, it is good, though. Even though I'm not, like, totally hyped for these, I think it's good to see things new from Miyamoto.
Yeah, it's good that he's not just working on New Super Mario Brothers, right?
Yeah.
I'm happy to see him doing things that he seems really passionate about when he talks about them, and so I trust him to make them fun. And they already, to me, look like a lot of fun, so...
Yeah, I just want to see how much depth each of these things have, and I want to see if they end up being in other games.
I can definitely see both of them getting really interesting in terms of the gameplay, but you don't want to play Project Guard for 20 hours in a campaign, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to have to somehow find a way to add in other types of gameplay if you want to make that a long game, or make it a download game, or put it as part of a compilation. So we'll see. We'll see how that ends up working out. Last big thing to talk about is, I think the thing people were most jumping up and down for, which is we got our first look at The Legend of Zelda for Wii U. Aonuma, the guy on the stream kept pronouncing it Aonuma. Aonuma came out and he said, "This is Zelda," and he snapped his fingers, and then Zelda was back there, and it looked really beautiful. And then a cutscene kind of thing, not a cutscene, it was in-engine footage, I think. But effectively, a cutscene started where we got to see Link for the first time and sort of what the technological era is going to be. It looks a little bit more with sci-fi sort of trimmings around it. Maybe a little bit more in the Final Fantasy sort of realm, where it's got this fantasy look, but also these lasers and stuff like that. He says it's going to be really open world, harken back to the original Legend of Zelda, etc., etc. So when we last talked, we discussed art style preferences, and you said you wanted a Twilight Princess kind of thing, or maybe something like the tech demo. After seeing what we saw this week, are you satisfied, disappointed, excited?
Man, I have to just say, this game, in the span of like 3 minutes, Nintendo won me over completely, and this is like my most anticipated Wii U game right now, and just in the span of seeing that little bit of footage.
It's gorgeous.
It is just so good looking.
It's like the Mario Kart thing, where you see it and you're like, how does a game look this good? Or like Tropical Freeze does the same thing for me. It's just how do we have video games that can look that good? And And it's on a system that, and this doesn't really matter, but it's on a system that isn't as powerful as a PS4 and Xbox One, right? And it's putting out these games that just look incredible. Like, they are what we would call perfect looking games, right? They just don't have any flaws. It's sort of like Mega Man 2 on the NES. You could call that effectively, with the exception of some frame rate issues or whatever, a perfect looking game because it's small in scope, whatever. But a lot of games now, and a lot of games forever, sort of reach beyond the bounds of what they're capable of, and they're sort of imperfect looking. Games like Mario Kart and Donkey Kong and this new Zelda, they just look perfect. Like, there's nothing wrong with them. There's no ugliness, there's no inconsistency. They just look perfect. And it just looks so beautiful. Like, I love it. This is exactly what I was hoping for as far as, I think, the atmosphere of a Zelda game.
Yeah, when Anuma snapped his finger and that image popped up, my jaw was like...
Yeah, you're just like... oh,
I almost didn't know what to do with myself. I couldn't contain myself. I was just so happy with what they showed.
I wasn't sure if it was in-game. I was like, is that what is going on here? Is this pre-rendered? Is it like... What's going on?
I thought it was kind of in-game because of...
It is, yeah.
There were things going on in the screen there, even though it was kind of like a static image in a way, but you could still see things happening.
Yep,
and it's just funny, like... Leave it to Nintendo to give you what you want, even though it's not what you originally wanted.
That's what they're good at, though. That's just what they're so good at.
Like you mentioned, I wanted that Twilight Princess kind of style, but this, I have to say, is probably a heck of a lot better than what they could have done with the Twilight Princess style.
What it comes down to is that Nintendo knows what you want better than you know what you want. That's really what it comes down to. So much of what they make gives me those sorts of feelings. It's just, I didn't even know I wanted this kind of game.
Yeah.
But now I need to have it right now. Like, it's they create a need because they make such good stuff. So really, we don't know that much about this new Zelda game, honestly. We know it's going to have a big open world and a beautiful art style, and that's about it. But that's enough to get me excited. I don't think I need to know too much else.
Besides the visuals, though, it just seems like the kind of world you want to be in, right? Like,
oh yeah, completely.
It seems so much more alive than any other game they've shown. They showed kind of like farmers or something in the background.
Yep.
Other things happening.
Yeah, no, completely. I think Aonuma ragged a little bit too much on Wind Waker, because I think that world felt very cohesive and it felt very consistent to me, even though it was kind of through trickery. I didn't have the same problems he seemed to have with Wind Waker. In a certain regard, he wasn't, getting too negative on it, but this, to me, it will be like Wind Waker, but on land. Like, it'll hopefully simulate those same sorts of explorative feelings as Wind Waker did, and Skyward Sword didn't do that, and I love the game, but it didn't do that. That wasn't its forte, but Wind Waker really did. Twilight Princess really didn't, and yeah, most Zelda games don't, so if they can nail that again, those are generally the more magical of the Zelda games to me. The ones that have those deep explorations, with the exception of like Majora's Mask. The original Zelda feels really magical, and it's too hard, but it feels really magical. Wind Waker, and hopefully something like this. So, gosh, does it look good.
Yeah, and I like how they're kind of returning to a traditional kind of Zelda in a way, where you have your horse, and it just, this really big open world, and you can already imagine all the possibilities of what they can do.
I do want to say, I think too many people are comparing it to Skyrim. Because, obviously, you can see why there are similarities, right? Oh, it's a big fantasy open world, Skyrim. But to me, people have been kind of making fun of Nintendo, saying like, oh, they thought that they couldn't do this until now because, oh, no one's been able to do open world, but what about Skyrim? And to me, the way that Zelda does something like this, or the way that the things Zelda focuses on in terms of making a world feel cohesive, are not even thought about when you play Skyrim. Skyrim has a focus so far away from where Zelda is going, right? And I don't think those comparisons are necessarily totally valid, even in this case. I think when you play a Zelda game, it doesn't feel like most of what we get out of open world games, like Wind Waker, right? You don't get a feeling of modern open world game when you play Wind Waker, but it is an open world game, and I'm hoping that this new game, and I think it will kind of have those same kinds of feelings. I don't think it'll just feel like Skyrim with a Zelda skin, because those things are so different to me. They're not even in the same ballpark, really. Not to mention, this art style for this new Zelda is better than everything that's ever been made in I think human history. So it's got that going for it as well. But I did want to put in 2 cents on like I don't really think we should be comparing it to Skyrim. I don't think these things are really equatable. So
yeah, this game though, I'm just so hyped. I want to play it now.
Well, wait to 2016. They say 15, but I'm telling you, man, it's 2016. That game's not coming out next year.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to say, even though it looks absolutely fantastic, I was hoping they were going to show a little more at this point.
Yep, and if they would have, maybe I'd believe 2015, but it looks too big. It doesn't look like they've got enough done to pull it off. So, yeah, I would expect a 2016 launch.
Yeah, I don't want to sound greedy or anything, but at this point, I feel like we should have seen more, given how Aonuma said last year that he was thinking about showing it on the Nintendo Direct.
I think it might be a symptom of the whole... We kind of got wind that Nintendo sort of got flanked by the whole HD game making thing. They weren't really prepared for it, and this might be a symptom of that, where they thought they could get it done sooner, but they didn't really necessarily have their hands around how much more work goes into making these sorts of games. So maybe that's why it's taking a bit longer. And again, we're gonna get it. It's gonna be amazing. We'll just have to wait, maybe late 2016. If it's 2015, I'll eat my hat and keep my Wii U for the rest of my life, because that would be amazing and I'd be really happy. But I don't expect it to be 2015, and I don't really think anyone does.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it won't hit this year, but
yep, it's definitely fair to say. So,
and do you want to briefly talk on the enemy that they showed, because that looked kind of neat?
Oh yeah, it looked all techno-y. It's a bit like is it not the future segments, but they look like the future segments in Skyward Sword, but they were really the past segments, where you go to the past, and it would be kind of all these like very neon blue lines and sort of these Technicolor like robot creatures, right? Definitely had that sort of vibe. Same with the arrow that Link shot at it. Yeah,
it seemed like it was using the same kind of technology.
It definitely gave me that sort of vibe. So maybe this is the pre-Skyward. I'm not even going to think about timeline nonsense, but it's in that atmosphere, right? Regardless of where it fits in on the timeline, it's in that sort of atmosphere. So that's really cool to me, because I really liked those bits in Skyward Sword. I thought they were super cool.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Anything else on Zelda?
No, just I can't begin to express how hyped I am for this, and I just hope like they do something at the end of the year, like a Nintendo Direct, and they just show this and maybe Splatoon, so we could see these games again. Maybe like in December.
I want to see them again soon. Yeah, I don't want to have to wait a year. So I'm sure we'll get a Direct, just giving us at least for Splatoon. I'm guessing actually Zelda, we might have to wait till next E3 to really see anything of it, but maybe I'll be surprised. Mm-hmm. All right, you want to do some quick hits at the end? Just cover all the smaller things that we didn't talk about. Let's go. Right. 1 or 2 sentences of impressions on Pokemon Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby.
Seems a lot like X and Y, but still excited for it because I never played the original games, and I did like X and Y.
Yep. So I think I'm lukewarm about them. I think they're fine. They don't. No, I bet once they come out, I bet I'll be in the mood for a Pokemon game, and I'll probably pick them up. So Pokemon is now an annual franchise, apparently. It's been a couple of years. We've had one every year. So Bayonetta 2 plus Bayonetta 1 now, as we know. Thoughts on that?
Pretty happy to see that they are including the first one.
Yeah, and it's for the digital download version too. So both types get it. That to me makes it like I'm definitely getting this at launch now. Like no question, because I haven't played the first one, and I don't think you have either. So
yeah, I was thinking about getting it for the PS3, but as I said last time, I was holding out hope that they were going to bring this over. So there you go.
You have and it's free. It's not even like you have to do anything. It just comes with the game, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's really great.
And the game Bayonetta 2 itself, I was watching it on the Treehouse stream, looks excellent. Like just the polish on it looks really, really strong. So
and super looking forward to that.
It does, yeah. I don't know if I'll touch it because I think it feels like a single player game to me, but it does have that if we so desire. So.
Oh, and what do you think about the Nintendo costumes in the first one?
Yeah, it's just a goofy little thing. It doesn't change much, but just makes me laugh, which is, I think, a big part of what Bayonetta is supposed to do. So
yeah, I find it interesting how Nintendo keeps like doing these kind of costume deal things.
Well, yeah, with like Tekken.
Yeah, and I think they did Monster Hunter 4 too.
Oh yeah, they did. It makes me laugh more in Bayonetta than it did in Tekken and in Monster Hunter. It looks really silly, but I like it. I think because Bayonetta is such a tongue-in-cheek kind of game. It doesn't take itself seriously at all, and I think this is just another little cherry on that that cake, so, or ice cream or whatever you put cherries on. All right, how about Hyrule Warriors? Any different thoughts on that compared to what you had before E3?
Not too much. I still think I'm going to end up getting it. I mean, it is a Zelda game in a way, so there's
Sorta.
that. And Midna's playable. That is really great news. I love
seeing
Midna
in HD looks really cool. I definitely like seeing her again.
That's my favorite protagonist. Not protagonist.
Like
side.
second, whatever. Those side characters.
Yeah, she was a great character.
I'm still on the fence about it, but it looks really polished, but I'm going to have to wait to see, I don't know, maybe like see some reviews roll in or something like that, because I don't know if the Dynasty Warriors thing is going to do anything, but it looks pretty different from Dynasty Warriors 2, so we'll see. I'm tepidly anxious for it, I think I would say.
Any guesses on other playable characters?
We got Zelda, Link, Midna, and then that one person, Impa, right? That's the ones we have so far?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. No guesses. People would say, I really don't. I think that's a pipe dream. Why would you? Groose isn't even a soldier, man. He's never fought in anything, right?
Well, there's going to be a lot of playable characters, so they're going to have to include
They're probably going to be, like, non-Zelda characters. I bet they're going to... Like, there's a lady on the box art, like some blue-haired, like, mage-looking person.
I feel like that was the antagonist of the game.
Really? I thought the antagonist was like the weird one with the mask and like the boobs and the stuff. This was someone else, I thought.
I thought it was the same person, but I might be wrong.
Maybe, but I'm guessing some of the characters aren't going to be Zelda characters. I'm guessing they'll be like new characters for this. So, but maybe Groose will show up. I can't really think of anyone else that.
If Tingle's in there, that's going to be hilarious.
If what?
Tingle, if he's in there.
Oh man,
somehow.
I'll buy it. I'll plop down $60 on it if I can play as Tingle with like a sword.
That'd be the funniest thing.
Whatever, that'd be great. How about Kirby's Rainbow Curse? I don't know anything about Canvas Curse other than that people liked it. Do you have any thoughts on Rainbow Curse?
I never played it either, but what happens for me is that I usually end up liking the spin-off Kirby's more than the main ones for some reason.
The main ones, yeah, I can understand that.
Like, I really liked Mass Attack. Mm-hmm. That was one I really liked, and Epic Yarn I liked a lot, even though, I don't know, some people think it's a spin-off kind of game, because it's really not traditional.
Sure. But it's in the same vein gameplay-wise, honestly, as most Kirby games. Yeah. So, I think it looks nice. It looks like it's going to be fun. So, it would depend on, like, if it came out the same day as, like, Splatoon, I probably wouldn't pick it up. But if it was, like, in the middle of, like, a couple months of nothing, it's the kind of game I'd buy, I think. So, it looks well put together. I expect good things from it. And then lastly, I know almost nothing about this game, but maybe you have thoughts on it. Mario Party 10?
Not really into it.
Yeah, well, hey, if they put online play in it, I'm there. I'll play Mario Party online. But without online play, I don't think I'll need it for anything.
I really don't know. I'm not feeling this.
Does it look worse than most Mario Parties?
I've never even really played the series too much.
It's a good series. It's a great party series. But I don't know if this one looks better or worse than what we're used to.
You know, based on what I remember of Mario Party 9, it doesn't look like it's a huge improvement. But, you know, some people like...
That's good news.
Some people like Mario Party, though, so...
It's fun. It's a ton of fun with friends. Yeah. I just don't... You know, there's a lot of people that I could play it with online, and the people who I play it with in person, one of us will buy a copy, and then the rest of us won't. So, that's all, that's all I have to say about Mario Party 10. All right, anything else we missed that you want to talk about before we close this thing out?
Let's see. Well, you briefly mentioned Fantasy Life. I just think that was cool that they finally announced that.
I don't know anything about it, so I haven't really paid. It's a level 5 RPG.
Yeah,
really
it's an
popular
RPG
in
kind
Japan.
of thing.
But I don't know what it is.
It just looks like a fun game.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. I haven't really put too much time looking into it. Phoenix Wright versus Layton, I'm looking forward to just because I like both of those series. But did we get any new like Monster Hunter news?
I don't think so. I mean, they had it at E3, but
I know they said no, it's not coming to Wii U, which is a bummer because I would have bought it. But it's probably just more Monster Hunter 4 is on its way, so I'll pick that up when it comes out. That's fine.
Oh, and there was also Fossil Fighters, but
I forgot. I didn't play the first one. Never really.
Same. I think there were two
put
actually.
Any attention to it. So really?
Yep.
Huh, cool. It wasn't one of those things that ever caught my eye, and the reviews weren't strong enough where I was forced to look into it. So, that's all right. I think on the whole, though, if we had to just generally say good or bad for this. I think we're both obliged to say it was a good E3, right?
Yeah, it was just like, I liked what they were doing like the whole way around. The presentation was really strong, I thought, between the humor and what they actually announced. I think they actually announced a little more than I thought they would.
They announced more than I thought they would, but they also announced more for 2015 than I thought they would.
That's true. That's the one thing that is kind of sad.
Because now, here's what we have for 2014. If you count everything, we have Wii Fit, Donkey Kong, Mario Kart for the first half of the year. That's 3 games for 6 months, which is not great. And one of them's Wii Fit. So, and then for the second half of the year, we've got Hyrule Warriors, Bayonetta, and Toad, right? And that's I think that's it. There's maybe one more. Or is that really? Oh no, Brawl or Smash Brothers is supposed to be coming. They changed it from winter 2014 to holiday 2014, which is a good sign. So last time I said no, it's not coming out. Maybe it will, but that's 6 games effectively for an entire year. 6 good games, like really solid, which isn't awful. It's not the worst we've ever had, but it's not great either. I would have liked to see like one other thing for the second half of the year, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, and the 3DS lineup actually kind of looks a little bit on the weak side.
No, yeah, it's terrible. It's not. We got Pokemon and Smash, and that's really the bulk, and then Fantasy Life if you want to jump in on that too, right?
And it's Professor Layton versus.
Sure, yeah, but even both of those are relatively like second tier titles for people who are a fan of those things. The only 2 ones that are like, everyone's gonna buy those are Smash and Pokemon, right? So. Yeah, I don't know. It's the same with like Hyrule Warriors and Bayonetta. It's like those don't appeal to a lot of people. So for a lot of people, this year was Donkey Kong, Mario Kart, Smash, which is 3 games. And that's not, they're making them all themselves, which is really impressive. But it's too bad we didn't have a little bit more to go on in 2014. So maybe Captain Toad will end up being really amazing. And that'll be another pillar. But yeah, it's a slightly underwhelming 2014 and an absolutely amazing 2015 if we get
stacked.
most of what they said we're going to get. We're not getting Zelda, but if we can get everything aside from Zelda, it's going to be a heck of a 2015.
Yep.
So if we either get Zelda or Star Fox, one of those 2 games will probably show up in 2015. I'm guessing Star Fox, but even that, geez, how do we even qualify that? So
yeah,
all right. Yeah, I'm happy with it. I was really, really impressed with everything they did. I thought Treehouse Live was like the greatest decision. And I know for you it sucked because it made your job a lot harder.
Oh my God. But I don't even want to
just not think about it anymore. Yeah, get excited for next year.
I was busy posting, well, you know this. I was posting from my computer basically from Monday all the way through today pretty much. I mean, today wasn't that bad, but...
Yeah. No, it was... You maybe got 6 hours of sleep every night at most. Yep. And then every other hour was just you sitting at a computer. So, yeah, I'm sure that was hard. But for the people who weren't at E3, my impression is they did a good job. Their hosts were really personable and really intelligent, seemed really passionate, and it gave us a way to like see gameplay. Like so much of what we saw presented at E3 was just like a cutscene or a really, really canned gameplay presentation. But these were games that were played over and over for 30 minutes at a time, and we really got a sense of what they were going to be about and how they were going to play, which it was way different than what we saw from other companies, and I appreciated that a whole bunch. So
yeah,
I know it made your job harder, but I liked it. Okay, yeah, that's all I have to say, I think, about E3 in particular. Favorite game of the show that's coming out in 2014.
2014?
Yeah, 2015, we don't need, because then it's just like Zelda.
All right, so what do we have in 2014 again? We have Captain Toad,
Bayonetta, Hyrule Warriors, Pokemon, and one more thing? Smash Bros. Oh, everyone's going to say Smash Bros then, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd probably go with Smash Bros.
Is just yeah, all right. Well, that's a silly question. What's your overall favorite thing you saw? Just Zelda, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I just want to play that right now.
Yep, it's going to be a great one. You can tell that this is going to be one of those Zelda games. So, all right, that's all I have to say about all that stuff. Any final thoughts?
Nope, I hope Nintendo kind of does this thing in the future, though. Definitely want to see the digital event kind of style again, and as you said, the Treehouse streaming, even though it almost killed me, it was really nice to see.
It was excellent. I'm sure we're going to see at least one of the 2 other companies copy that sort of formula. I know Sony was kind of doing a stream, but apparently no one was really watching it, so I don't know what the differences there were.
I think it was just mainly Nintendo showing, like every single game almost. And
really in depth too, with the
really
developers there.
Yeah, that too.
They have a large pool of developers they can pull from, right? They don't have to go to other people to get people on Treehouse Live. They had some indie developers there. They had the guy. Devil's Third is coming. I forgot. That's another thing. Personally, maybe it'll be fun. I don't know. But they had the Devil's Third guys there. Showed a lot of Smash Brothers, a lot of Captain Toad, a lot of Yoshi, a lot of Splatoon. It was just really good. I appreciated that so much, being able to check in on that whenever I wasn't doing something. So yeah, I bet someone will copy that next year, but we'll have to see.
Yep.
All right, cool. I guess we'll call that a day then. That'll be a good 2 parts, a little over an hour of discussion on E3. So, yeah, you can, if you want any more E3 coverage, you can go to the website this is for. If for some reason you don't know, it's nintendoeverything.com. You want to hear more E3 talk? They'll be on the podcast this weekend. You can listen to our podcast. We'll talk a bit about E3. Not even a bit. We'll talk a lot about E3, I'm sure, there. And, yeah, I don't know. Twitter, Facebook, you can do all that stuff if you want to. Doesn't really matter to us. We just want to provide you with good Nintendo content, right?
Yep. And
sounds about right.
There are a ton of posts to check out, too. Probably hundreds at this point.
Oh, I've been going back through. You've done an incredible job, and it's just been reading for me all the time. Just me, I really appreciate it, and I know a lot of other people do. So we're glad that someone's willing to not get any sleep and to feel terrible for a week, so the rest of us can have a ton to look through. So hopefully you catch up on sleep this weekend.
Oh yeah, definitely. But thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, of course. You always do good work, so we appreciate it. All right, we're gonna cut this out now, and if you have any thoughts, just put them in the comments, and one of us will maybe reply, depending on what you say. So, all right, we'll see you guys later, and Brian, I'll talk to you later next time we do one.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
See ya.